Iowa State podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Carter.
And I'm your host, Cody Van Ciello.
And yeah, we are here to talk about a little bit about, obviously, you know why we're here. We're here to talk about the Big 12 championship game. But, Cody, we had a big basketball game last night.
Yeah, so I'm for our audience before we dive deep into the Big 12 championship game between the Iowa State Cyclones and the Arizona State Sun Devils. We did last night have ourselves a top 10 matchup in the world of college basketball in the Big 12 Big East battle. You had the number 5 Marquette Golden Eagles taking a trip to Hilton Coliseum to take on your number 6 Iowa State Cyclones. In that game, Hilton Magic struck once again. Keyshawn Gilbert balled out once again, and Iowa State got themselves a very important win here in the non-conference, winning their game yesterday, 81-70. It was a whiteout. It was probably it was a great atmosphere this time around. So it's just another case of Hilton Magic and just the atmosphere continuing to be great for basketball.
Yeah, definitely, man. We had a pretty big lead going into halftime, and it sort of had a feelings of an Auburn game again, where Marquette came back to tie it halfway through the second half, but Iowa State was able to pull away.
Yeah, I kind of had that feeling too. I'm not gonna lie, but I think for me, I didn't feel like that we would blow this lead just because we had felt what it was like to blow a lead, and I think the mental toughness of the team, they learned their lesson against Auburn down in Maui, and I think they're in the similar situation again. And I think it's just a credit to the team to be able to push through and to stay locked into the game and not let the fact that you blew a lead again like kind of distract you from the game because there's still a half of the second half left to go. So they knew they could still come back from that. And I mean, they showed it.
Definitely, man. And one thing I do want to say that I am excited about for the rest of the season is just like we haven't had bigs that could actually create their own offense probably since Melvin Ejim and Dustin Hogue, and those were like the Hoyball teams. And I'm really excited just to have an inside presence with guys both with size, especially with Joshua Jefferson and Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, you mentioned Deshaun Jackson and Joshua Jefferson. Joshua Jefferson once again had himself a pretty good day. He got himself another double double with 15 points and 12 rebounds. And I mean, Joshua Jefferson has shown the capabilities to be a stretch four, and now he has a much bigger size. Like we haven't seen big this with this size in the TJ Alsoberger era. We just never had the body mass, the physicality that these two bigs bring. And even off the bench, Branson Chatfield, he gets you some solid rebounds. He'll get you some solid minutes. But yeah, Joshua Jefferson and Deshaun Jackson proving that they are a really good 1-2 front court combination, and that really will supplement the backcourt of Taylor Lipsey, Keyshawn Gilbert, and Curtis Jones.
Definitely. I also love that second group or that second team rotation. I think that's still this is gonna be a solid. This is gonna be. We have a lot of depth, man, and like really excited, especially going into Cyhawk next week, and then at the end of the month, uh, starting when the conference play starts on New Year's Eve when we are on the 30th when we play Baylor. So I mean, this team is rocked and raring to go. So with that being said, man, let's get into this preview with Arizona State. So as you know, Arizona State, one of their top receivers is out. Um, Tyson, he unfortunately is out for the rest of the season, and a lot. He was mostly 75% of their passing game production. So I know that this defense is going to be locked in on Cam Scadaboo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Jordan Tyson. Yeah, he was a lot of that. He was the number one guy for Sam Levitt to throw to whenever they did pass the ball. And I mean, even if you look at the depth chart, if you look at the receiving, the two best receivers for Sam Levitt were Jordan Tyson and Cam Scadaboo. You have to go all the way down to the fourth receiver to find a second wide receiver because the third best receiver for Sam Levitt was their tight end. So, I mean, that is a lot of production being lost with Jordan Tyson being out due to injury. So I think it's just going to be a case of who will step up for Arizona State. And I mean, the defense for John Haycock and Iowa State, they can definitely hone in a little more on Cam Scadaboo. because obviously that's the main threat for Arizona State and their offense. So if you're able to limit Cam Scatterboot and that impact he has, if you give him if he goes on like an average game, you can still recover from it because that's the thing. You
Right.
know, Cam Scatterboot is going to get he's going to get his yards and maybe a touchdown or so. But if you limit the impact that he has for their offense, and you play pretty well as your offense as Iowa State has shown the last couple of weeks, especially in that Kansas State game, they were moving the ball just fine. So,
Right.
and just got to clean up some things. Clean up, I think weather-wise, I think the weather played a factor in the last week and explains why there were a lot of bad passes and drop passes. Just the cold, and then it's a little slippery to catch the ball or whatever. But yeah, I think just that. Let's say that, yeah, that adjustment and then that understanding of Cam Scatterboot. I think this defense is tested for it. I mean, if you look at the running backs that they have gone up against, they've gone against some of the best running backs in the country. They've
Hmm.
gone up against Caleb Johnson. They've gone against RJ Harvey. They've gone up against Taj Brooks, DJ Giddens, and even Devin Neal. So they have shown that they are capable. I mean, they've split the record. I think. I think they might have an edge, like when it comes to winning against these running backs. But they have shown that even if these running backs can do a lot of damage, they can still find a way to win.
Yeah, they're I believe they're 4-1 against them. So like, if anything, like we've held besides Devin Nail, we held everybody below their season average. Now, like, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. I do think defensively we are ready, locked and loaded and ready. I just one thing that I did say last week that could possibly give us trouble, even though he doesn't have that much production. The tight end, like Kansas State's tight ends like did really well against us, especially in the red zone. There's a tight end. Tight end got open a lot. So I possibly could see that being an issue, and just with us not having tape on certain players. Like I know that they don't have any receiver production. It's just that every time that we don't have tape on somebody, we somehow always usually struggle. And that's one thing that I'm looking at. I'm like, like this sort of seems like too good to be true, but I'm like, but I know this defensively. The last 3 weeks we've been like a machine.
Exactly. Yeah. Just that ever since that Kansas game, like obviously, like that was like the peak of like finally everything breaking, like collapsing on you, just because of all the injuries and whatnot. But now you you have two linebackers back. We mentioned I think a few times one McLaughlin, Jack Sadowski being back. You've also got Dom Orange back in the lineup. J.R. Singleton's back, and then you obviously are looking to return perhaps Malik Verdon because he didn't suit up last Saturday, but.
Hmm.
I'm curious to see how that is going to go. I think something to note here. There was an injury, like I think somebody's mentioned, like Ben Bramer might be a game time decision, and
Yeah.
then yeah, then Kale Brazina is not looking to, like I don't think he'll be playing in the Big 12 title game. But if Ben Bramer does play for Iowa State, I think that opens up the offense a little more because now you have three solid receiver options for Rocco Beck.
Hmm. Yeah, and with that, the run lanes will be open because you're gonna have to worry about three guys. You got to worry that should go. I mean, even though like the Arizona State defense is stout and they can also force turnovers like we can. So like, and they have a quarterback who like can't who doesn't turn the ball over at all. But to be fair, he hasn't seen a defense like this though. This is the best defense in the Big 12.
Yeah, and actually, well, I mean, there was a time where they did actually lose to Cincinnati, and if I
Right.
remember correctly, their defensive coordinator came from Iowa State. So we saw what happened when Arizona State went up against a defense like Iowa State's in that Cincinnati game, and I think Arizona State did struggle. I would have to look at that, but that was the one time that they saw a defense like ours.
That is true, and I don't think Sam Levitt played in that game because he was injured.
Oh yeah,
But
okay, so he wasn't. Okay, I think
no,
he was injured.
but it's what you said, Cody. Though is a fair point. Like every time that they've seen a 3-3-5 defense, they've struggled against that. So just with and just I like the aggressiveness of John Haycock because as you've seen over the last 3 weeks, it's been balls to the wall. He's been sending more pressure. Last week, like he's not this like Sam Levitt is very mobile. He's not like a Avery Johnson type, but he can get away from things. So I think I expect to see us bringing a lot of blitzes this week.
Yeah, for sure. And then also maybe having like a few QB spies because that's something to look out
Right.
for. Just having that is going to be very nice to make sure that you still have eyes on Sam Levitt and you don't let him like break out a run or so. So having Will McLaughlin as like QB spy has been really nice to have, especially against Avery Johnson because they were really beating us last week with those options, but we were able to find a way to beat those options.
Yeah, and I already heard. You already know that the national people aren't really paying attention to this game, and they don't really look at the context of situations because you already know they're going to be looking at that number of the whole season of Iowa State giving up 5.1 yards per carry and 5.1 yards per carry, and they're going to be like, oh, well. They're going to lose because they give up 5.1 yards per carry the entire season when you really, really look at it, like the last three games doesn't really tell that story. When it's been the defense has been stout, we've had linebacker depth issues because of the injury, and I mean it's absolutely crazy because it seems like where everybody's zigging, we're zagging because we have everybody's getting healthy at the right time because all of our injuries were in the middle of the season.
Right. And even with those injuries, they still find a way. Like Iowa State, they still find a way to win a lot of these games. So that just shows like the preparedness and the expectation of being ready to play at any point in Iowa State. So that's just that comes down to coaching. That comes down to a culture thing here at Iowa State, and it's been pretty stable. And yeah, just have to allude to the culture thing. I mean, we talk about Kenny Dillingham and Matt Campbell. They're very similar coaches, and actually, Kenny Dillingham did go on a job shadowing thing to check out Matt Campbell's coaching during, I believe it was 2019. I don't remember what game it was, but yeah, Kenny Dillingham was in Ames to learn some stuff from Matt Campbell, and I mean those two are very similar coaches. They handle themselves in very similar ways, so this would be an exciting matchup to see how the two coaches try to outcoach the other.
Yeah, he definitely endeared himself to be like a Matt Campbell guy, and but one of the things that stood out, he said like he was able to joke around with his players, but still demand the attention. Like the fact that he can you can be that type of guy, but then still have the respect of the players in the room. Be like, hey, look, I'll be friends with you, but at the same time, you go and respect me. So like having that type of thing. It's good. It's good. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Like Kenny Dillingham is not a scrub. He came from the Oregon. He came from the Oregon coaching staff, and he got a coaching head coaching job for a reason. So just when you look at it, this is going to be a tough matchup. To me, I definitely see Iowa State winning. So with that, let's do score predictions. What are you thinking, man?
Let's see. I think this one is just going to come down to like how the defenses and the offenses match up against each other, and just see how our defense can match up against their offense. They'll try to exploit the weakness that we have, and then we'll see like how like we can like play on offense because how our offense can move the ball. I think it's going to be the big thing to look out for because we know exactly what Arizona State's running game can do, and we know what their offense is going to do. So that's a given. But I think it comes down to Ken Rockelbeck. I mean, he's shown he can make the clutch plays. Uh, I think will he be able to be consistent, keep the offense flow going, keeping the momentum. I think that's going to be the big key for this game. Is can Rockelbeck be able to sustain offense throughout the entire game? And I think he does have the capability to do so. He's shown those flashes, and I think ultimately he'll be able to do that. And I think Iowa State will be able to win this game. And I think I'll have a final score of 31-27.
Ooh, like okay, nice, nice. All right, so the key for me is what can Rocco play a clean game? Not throwing those back breaking interceptions or throw a pick six because if you give the ball up to this Arizona State defense, they will capitalize. For me, it's going to be offensively the play calling because you already know that Taylor Mauser is going to have something cooked up for them. Both just the fact that we have both coordinators that can be able to be in their bag and be able to throw something at this team that they've never seen before. I think, and just with the experience that Matt Campbell has playing in this game, I think Iowa State will take advantage of that. I do think this game will still be close, though. I have the Clones winning 31-24.
All right. All right. So yeah. Now that we got that, so that's the Big 12 preview. I mean, it's a very important game, and this will be on ABC at 11 a.m. So you can kind of start your day off with watching the Big 12 championship game. This will more than likely determine who will be the conference champion to go into the playoff. Prize a 12
Yeah.
seed. You do have to look out for some more conference championship games. Just the way the playoffs are looking right now. But I mean, we could take a look at some of these other conference championship games and just take a look at some of the more important ones for Big 12. Either if it's either Iowa State or Arizona State, because there are some things that do need to fall their way. So Friday you have West Kentucky at Jacksonville State. This is Conference USA versus.
That is no, that is the Sun Belt.
Okay, so that's the Sun Belt. So that'll be 6 p.m. if you want to go ahead and get started with Conference Championship Week. But right here for the Mountain West, this is the one that you will have to tune into if you're a Big 12 fan. You want the Big 12 to have a chance to get that bye. This is the game you have to have circled, and you need to be cheering off for UNLV to pull off the upset at Boise State.
Yeah, Big 12, even our rivals, K-State. I'm not telling you who to cheer for, but just for the Big 12 as a whole, we all need to come together as a collective. Even Arizona State fans, even as opponents, um, we we need UNLV to win this game. This will be huge for us, just from a seating perspective, because we're not going to get any respect from the college football committee, even though they're so crooked. I can't stand them.
Yeah, I mean that's just the thing. So, I mean Boise State is only a 4-point favorite. I would have thought maybe the line must have moved down because I was thinking Boise State was a 5.5 point favorite. I guess it might have moved down a little bit, or this might have been one to open up with. But yeah, I think UNLV they do probably want revenge on Boise State as well because Boise State did beat UNLV in Las Vegas. So wouldn't feel any better for the Rebels to not only get their revenge on Boise State, but do it in their stadium and win the Mountain West and possibly knock Boise State out of a first round bye.
Yeah, I mean, and this could, and depending on this game, the next game, or the other game that's coming out at 7 o'clock, they could take that spot away. Tulane and Army. I mean, maybe Tulane is definitely out of the thing with losing, definitely out of the running for losing to Memphis. But man, if Army wins this game, hey, maybe they take that last playoff spot.
Yeah, maybe that G5. I'll have to see because, I mean, I don't. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not too sure if Army can usurp Boise State unless Boise does take a dive. But the thing is, because it is a ranked matchup in the Mountain West, I don't think Boise State's going to get too much. Not going to be knocked down too much. So we'll have to see about that. But I mean, there might be a chance, but I think it's not probable. But
That's
yeah, that's
true.
your Friday slate. And then Saturday, we've already gone through the Big 12. You've got the MAC with Ohio, Miami of Ohio. You could possibly look out for this one as well. I think this is basically a pick 'em, but I think Miami of Ohio might edge out this win.
Yeah, I see that. Miami has been consistent all year. Although Ohio has been good all year, even without Curtis Rourke. They're just a solid. There's been a solid program for years and years.
Yep. All right. And next up here at 3 o'clock on ABC, following the Big 12 championship matchup, you have a rematch of a regular season matchup when it's number 5 Georgia taking on number 2 Texas, the SEC championship game down in Atlanta, Georgia.
This is going to be a great game. Hopefully, us Clones fans, all the Clones fans that are going down to Texas. Hopefully, we can be in Texas live, having a beer, celebrating the Big 12 championship win while watching this game. I'm pretty sure there's going to be Texas fans there at Texas Live too. So yeah, have fun with them. Hopefully, celebrating a win and having beers with them.
Yeah, I mean this one I don't know how do you see this matchup playing because Texas has like that's the only like real team that Texas has really played until like I guess you could throw A&M, but A&M's a 4 loss team. I guess the real consistent team was Georgia, but Georgia's shown inconsistencies. They have to survive 8 overtimes to beat Georgia Tech, and Texas hasn't really played anybody of a higher caliber. Uh,
So, oh, go ahead, bro. Sorry.
Now you go ahead.
Oh, so for me, like Georgia is limping into this matchup. And Texas, like they had an impressive win against A&M, but like you said, Texas really hasn't played anybody with a pulse at so far this year. And when they did, they lost to Georgia and they got beat pretty handily. Although Georgia is going to be the away team here, I think they're playing the game in Atlanta. This is basically a home game for the Dogs. So give me the Dogs here. Um, I guess in an upset, and I guess for this, I think whoever loses this game is kind of going to end up being the 5 seed. And if things fall where they are, this is probably going to be the opponent if Iowa State wins. Or if either for the Big 12, this is going to be the opponent of who the Big 12, the winner of the Big 12 plays.
Yeah. All right. Then you have Marshall, Louisiana. Don't remember which conference this is.
You know what? Actually, sorry, mistake. Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State is Conference USA, and Marshall, Louisiana is Sun Belt. So
So
my apologies.
okay, so I was right the first time.
Yeah, you were right the first time.
Okay, yeah, but yeah, Louisiana has been scorching in their conference down in the Sun Belt. So this has been something to look out for, and I wouldn't be surprised if Louisiana does take care of business against Marshall.
Yeah, man. Even though Marshall has been looking pretty good, but I expect the Raging Cajuns to take this one at home.
Yep. And then at the 7 p.m. window, you have number 3 Penn State taking on number 1 Oregon in Indianapolis for the Big Ten title, and you have number 17 Clemson taking on number 8 SMU in Charlotte, North Carolina for the ACC title game. These two, I think the Big Ten title. I mean, I feel like this may be just a confirmation of what we thought. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Oregon wins, but your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I just feel like this is going to be the same story, Cody. Every time Penn State plays in a big game, they always choke. I mean, they're gonna do something to make it close enough, but I don't think they're gonna make enough plays. I think Oregon wins the Big Ten, and also just to move to the Clemson game, this could also be another game that Big 12 fans should be rooting for. We should be rooting for Clemson to win this game because if Clemson wins this game, I don't think that their schedule. I mean, being 10-3, like you really think they're gonna? I mean, with this committee, they probably would put Clemson over us because Clemson has been there, but just for the fact that Clemson is 10-3 and we'd be 11-2, like we would have a way much better record. So this could possibly be a game that you should be cheering for Clemson to win.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson could like steal that bid. That would be a bid steal right there if Clemson was to win, and then that can boost. I mean, between Iowa State, Arizona State, because both teams are actually ranked ahead of Clemson. I don't think they could really. I don't know if they would usurp the Big 12 champion by that much,
Right.
considering that Clemson's behind both of them. So it's like whoever wins between the two in the Big 12 title is more than likely going to be ahead of Clemson if Clemson does beat SMU.
Right. Yeah. So that I'm excited for that one. That's going to be a switch of styles. I actually see Clemson winning that one.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I'll say Clemson on this one. The thing with SMU is like yes they've looked pretty, but I mean I just don't know. I just don't think in this first year. I think Clemson has. I mean they still have Dabo Sweeney, so they still have that experience in the title game like this. So I think Clemson does get the edge in that regard.
Clemson has big game experience. Like Dabo has went toe to toe with Nick Saban twice and has won one national championship. Or no, two national championships
Yeah.
actually. And destroyed him in the second one. So
Yep.
I mean, this is going to be interesting to see. Do you have any other thoughts just about anything this upcoming weekend or for basketball?
I guess not really. I guess for basketball, we could take a look at the Big 12 because we did have the Big 12 Big East battle, and from the looks of it,
Man,
the Big East clearly they wrecked shop on the Big 12.
they sure did.
If we go to here, so Villanova getting the upset against Cincinnati, Providence blasting out BYU, and then on Wednesday you had Creighton with the home upset over number one Kansas, and that's the second year in a row. This is the second year in a row that and Creighton has beaten the number one team in the country in Omaha.
Yeah, man, that was a crazy game. We talked about it on the in the reaction show for K State, and we were talking about a little bit do a mini preview on the Marquette game. We were talking about how it's going to be tough to win a game in Omaha, and
Mm-hmm.
Kansas falls victim.
Yep. And then obviously Iowa State taking care of business against number 5 Marquette. UConn squeezing out a win against number 15 Baylor. UConn able to rebound from a disastrous trip in Maui, and Dan Hurley and the UConn Huskies do have that really good quad one win now.
Yeah, UConn gets back on a schneid after having a very very bad Maui. So they rebound. They needed a huge win. They needed. Baylor loses a tough game. I think in stores. So this should be interesting to see how they are before conference play starts.
Yep. Yep, and then later on the late cap for tonight, for last night, it was Texas Tech taking care of DePaul. Didn't really pay too much attention, but it continues. The Big 12 Big East battle does continue, and you got at least a couple wins for the Big 12, so they might have a chance, but we'll have to see. Xavier will take on TCU in Fort Worth tonight at 7 o'clock, and then you also have Georgetown of West Virginia on Friday at 6. So I'll have to see how that West Virginia team does. I like this West Virginia team this year under Darian DeVries.
Darian DeVries has a squad there. He's gonna have them boys playing hard, as you know, from him coaching at Drake. So it's gonna be a great matchup to watch.
Mm-hmm. And then on Saturday, you've got a few more matchups. You've got Kansas State traveling to Queens, traveling to Carnesecca Arena to take on St. John's. And then you have Butler traveling to the Fertitta Center to take on number 17 Houston. And St. Mary's taking on Utah. So I think Saturday there may be chances for some wins in the Big 12 and a chance for Houston to really rebound after a couple of not so great losses. I mean, they did lose in overtime to San Diego State. They also lost to Alabama. So we'll have to see what this Houston squad is.
I think this Houston squad is still very good. They just had a tougher non-con schedule. When you play a top 10 team of Alabama and then San Diego State, who was very good last year. There's some that the beginning of your season doesn't really look pretty, but again, it's all about how you do in conference, and they're the defending Big 12 regular season champions. So I expect them to be full form by the time they play us.
All right. All right, I think there isn't much there. I guess just briefly looking around other sports. The women, they picked up a rebounding win on Tuesday against USC Upstate. They almost dropped 100 on them. So that's good to see them rebounding after a mixed trip down in Fort Myers. And hopefully they have a couple more things to fix out before they head to Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes in the Cyhawk series. And then on the wrestling side, wrestling will be heading to Las Vegas to take on the Clean Invitational. We learned that Connor Uten, our 165-pound wrestler, is out for the year with the knee injury. So I'm expecting MJ Kaitan to be back, and we'll just have to see how that goes, Vegas goes, and see if we can fix some lineups. So if you want to also keep up, I'm going to plug a couple other things to check out. Check out Ben Visser and Jack Cordova. Those people do a great job at covering wrestling. So if you want more in-depth wrestling coverage, you can check them out. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for our Arizona State preview and look back at the Marquette game. Um, Yeah, if you guys have any more questions or concerns, you can find Cody right here at Matt Campbell Impersonator on Twitter. I can be found at uh, Sci Tie Guy, and I will be down in Arlington. So if you see me, say hello. I'll say hello back and probably talk with you, conversate. Um, so hope I can't wait to see all you other Clones fans down there. Just for us, if you could help us out, we're a growing podcast, and if you can follow us on Believe in Iowa State on all of our pages, BLEAV. That's how you spell it. Can be found on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. So for Tyler Carter,
And for Cody Van Seal alum,
this is the Believe in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones, baby.
let's go state.